You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live. Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Rowlands and I'm joined this Boxing Day evening by Matt Kendrick. In what I've just said before we got started, Matt, for the first time in ages, your background looks better than mine. I've started to kind of clear stuff out of here in a spring clean, and you've got your fairy lights up and a little plant in the corner. It looks very homely where you are.
It does. I've got my little grotto and you've got your little grotty, haven't you?
It is grotty, to be fair. That is not my fault. Welcome to the show, everyone joining us Boxing Day evening. Thanks for joining us. Matt, how are you?
I'm all right, actually. I was ill, wasn't I? The last one of these I did was the Christmas quiz, and I wasn't feeling great. And fortunately, the nearer it's got to Christmas, my kind of eating capacity has improved. So I'd lost a bit of weight before Christmas, and now I'm putting it all back on. So yeah, I'm all right, mate. It's a weird time in it between Christmas and New Year. I find it a bit of a strange one. I would rip the Christmas decoration down on Boxing Day and just plan for the New Year. You know, stick it all in a skip and move on with our lives. But
and Christmas, the end of the year and the start of the New Year is always pretty depressing. I think it's back to work, isn't it? And holidays are over. The excitement's gone. It's cold. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
having said that, what did I watch this morning? I watched a bit of Mary Poppins. I watched the Gruffalo. I watched Big Hero 6.
All today?
They were on, and I was just sat in front of the telly, just kind of dossing
like
around.
A blob.
So yeah. And then I watched the Villa.
Yeah. Well, football is back after what feels like a very, very long time. I think the post was that we did this morning, Brighton away. I think was the last one you and me did one of these, and I said before we started, I feel a little bit rusty. I don't know what we have to talk about on one of these. It's been such a long time. I mean, Villa come back in typical fashion with a loss to bring us all back down to reality. But the thing that I kind of thought was quite weird as we were going through it, it's like, even though Emery's been here what feels like a long time, he's not been here a long time in terms of football matches. It's like, well, he's won 2 out of 2 in the Premier League, and it's like, oh yeah, we've actually been pretty good under Emery, he's had a good start, and it feels like such a long time he's been here. Obviously, we didn't play great in the friendlies, and it's another defeat today. He's first in the Premier League, 3-1 to Liverpool, by the way, if anyone missed the scoreline, there you go. But spoiler. Kind of shoots of recovery, shoots of optimism in some extent, and for the most part, as much as it wasn't vintage Villa in it by any means, I did feel a little bit like 3-1 maybe flattered Liverpool a touch. I know they can kind of always kick it up into another gear, but we had chances, and that's probably the most annoying thing, that there's certainly room for improvement. Say that. Yeah,
I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity, to be honest, because you say it's not vintage Villa, but it wasn't vintage Liverpool either. And I think when they looked like they could be got at times, and I thought we bossed the game without really, really hurting them in the second half. And yeah, it's one, like you say, he's been with us a while, but the fact that it's the first time he's tasted defeat in the Premier League, I just felt we were a little bit, you talk about me and you being a bit rusty. I felt as a team, we were a little bit rusty, even when we dominated the ball for spells in the second half. There was always a loose touch or a fluffed finish, or, it didn't quite get there. I think 3-1 did flatter them. Did we do enough to get a point? I don't know. I thought there was a missed opportunity after. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember what time. What time did we score the goal? About 65?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. I thought that was the opportunity for Emery to change it up a little bit then, and while we got 59. Some momentum to try and turn the screw a little bit. So I think that was the first time I've been a little bit disappointed that he hasn't kind of made the changes or mix things up early enough. But yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those ones where there's no disgrace in it, but just these are the ones where if we are going to kick on, these are the ones where we can't leave games like that with nothing basically.
Yeah, there's certainly a point in the game when it gets to 2-1. You think there's probably another goal in this game, and I'm hoping it goes in the way of 2-1. And obviously, it ends up 3-1 Liverpool, but we are kind of pushing them. We are creating these chances. I think there was a moment my dad said at some point, I think Leon Bailey underhit a shot or mishit a shot or something. He goes, overhits every cross and then underhits every shot. And that kind of sums up the frustration of the players that go through these kind of peaks and troughs of form, that can either massively underhit a pass and then massively overhit a cross into the Holt end or whatever. And just that kind of element of frustration of we're not quite terrible, which is obviously good, but we're not good enough to be like, oh, well, it was unlucky that we lost today. We still weren't good enough to get anything, I don't quite think, because we only played for one half. Again, the second half we were much better. But like you say, if we are to improve, and I think the pre-match interview with Emery mentioned about like, oh, what, you know, you've won 2-2 in the Premier League. What is the aim this year? Is Europe achievable? And it's like, oh, steady on, whoever said that on Amazon Prime or wherever it was on. And you just think we're not quite good enough to be getting too excited yet. There is moments where you think there's something there, but yeah, January window is obviously coming up in the next week or so. I don't know how much business we'll do, but I feel like, just looking at the comments quickly, a striker is probably one that most people wish that Villa had under their Christmas tree yesterday.
Yeah, don't come cheap though, do they? No, how much was Nunes?
Yeah. I know. But, you know, that Watkins is the perfect example, isn't it, of somebody who's could be good enough, could be better, does nothing really for the first half, and then scores a great goal with a great finish, but he's offside. The one time he's actually offside, he does put it in the net. He has a couple of one-on-ones and he's had them throughout the season where you think, I don't back him to score a chance one-on-one, and then he does, but he's offside. And then there was another one, wasn't there? The goal he did score, there was another opportunity, I can't even remember now, that we missed, and you just think, oh, it's just typical Villa, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody had a moan at me on Twitter the other day because I said, you know, there'd been a transfer link saying Villa are expected to be the busiest of Premier League clubs in the January transfer window, and I put something like, I hope not, just because I think it's a kind of false economy when you're doing a lot of your business in January. You can find bargains, great, but I would rather us just make a couple of tweaks. You know, if I don't know, get a player on loan, whatever it might be. I don't think we need to see another half a dozen players bought in January. I think Emery needs to have this season, not as a free hit. You know, obviously want to see signs of improvement, but he needs to have this season to assess what he's got and to try and coach performances out of the players that he's got, rather than thinking that, you know, a mad flurry of new signings is going to catapult us into Europe again. So yeah, I mean, Watkins was Watkins, wasn't he? You know, he's, like you said, if he's given too long to think about chances, you know, he tends to overthink it, and, you know, not score as often as he should. You know, I thought he took the goal. I thought the one that was offside, I thought he took well, and the one that he actually scored and counted, I thought it was a good header, and he
good move,
placed it out of Alisson's reach. But yeah, I think it's unfair to single out Watkins, because I do think there were times where, like I say, Bailey snatched at a couple of chances. You know,
McGinn had that chance where he went for the diving header again.
Yeah, I think he's seen it late, but probably could have taken a touch rather than a kind of a poor contact header. Buendia, I thought, looked bright outside the area, but the closer he got to their goal, you know, it was a little bit scruffy, I think, and you know, wasn't able to produce the final ball often enough. So it was just one of those. It was a Villa performance born out of rustiness, I think, but against opponents who I thought were there for the beating today.
There's a summary here from Steve and Josh. I'll read out. Steve says, poor in midfield, Louise off the pace, missed cash as well. I actually think Watkins played well, good hold-up play, yes, certainly in the second half. Bailey was terrible. And Joshua said also Emery's substitutions came far too late. We should have brought Danny Ings on a hell of a lot sooner. Yeah, it does feel like one of those that it's kind of got away from us a little bit, because we did have the momentum with us in the second half, and then all of a sudden you don't, and you think, okay, change it now, and before you know it, it's too late. Ings obviously comes on, Coutinho comes on as well. Coutinho has a little run at the end, doesn't he? Nothing comes to it, and you think, there we go. There's Coutinho doing what he does. But yeah, just going back to the team news, probably first of all, Cash not playing. It's probably a touch of a surprise. Obviously, he's got a World Cup involvement, so maybe not that much of a surprise. But we knew about Martinez not being there. We didn't know whether Cash would start or not. Young playing on the right-hand side. McGinn kind of playing off the right-hand side as well in a kind of 4-4-2. Do you think that the lineup was right? Because it's such a weird gap, isn't it? And something that none of us are used to have played the last game in the Premier League 6 weeks ago, whatever it is. There's no kind of momentum to carry over. So you almost can have a clean slate and say, right, you're all kind of in contention. Do you think that was the right 11? Obviously, you've got hindsight that we lost. But
yeah, if you'd probably asked me at what time the team news dropped, 4:30, I wouldn't have been overly concerned. But as the game panned out, I was I don't know. We just know that Alexander-Arnold and Robertson play high up the pitch, and was Young played in there because he thought he'd be a better bet defensively. That my big gripe would be that Cash might have given Robertson more to worry about himself, with his pace, and would have made him a little bit more nervous about playing as high up as he did, because that ball. I know the first goal came from Robertson on the other flank from a half clear corner that went back in, but that ball was on so often, that ball out to the left, and it just didn't seem to work, and neither between them. I don't think that Young and McGinn got to grips with Oxlade-Chamberlain and Robertson down in that area of the pitch in the first half. Didn't ultimately hurt us that much in that area in terms of the goals scored, but we just didn't look at it. To me, it just looked so kind of disjointed in the first half. And by the time the second half kicks off, you've got to produce something special, haven't you? Even a Liverpool team that I think had only won away once before this season, they're not really going to squander a 2-goal lead very easily. So I think we'd given ourselves an uphill task. And if Núñez could finish, we'd probably lost it by six or 7.
Just a rubbish Andy Carroll, was it, with the chance?
Yeah, that was
the
crap Andy Carroll. That was probably the highlight of the game, to be honest. It up quite well. Although we did really watch their second goal back, and the touch and the and the. I think he tried to pull it back, didn't he? And it was half saved, half fumbled by our friend Robin Olsen.
We'll talk about Olsen in a sec. The first goal is not very Liverpool goal. It's not very often you kind of sit there and go fair play to the opposition, but that was a lovely move. The Liverpool goal, the first one, the outside of the ball.
It's Trent Alexander, the outside of the boot, isn't it?
Loads of time to play the ball across, so calm, so composed. You just have to sit there and go. Not a lot.
No, it was a good goal, and I think McGinn's probably gone to sleep slightly. I think from watching the replay back, and Robertson stole in over on his blind side and first time touch, and Salah's not going to miss from 8 yards out a simple tap in. But yeah, it's I don't know, two goals conceded, but I know it was a second phase of part play from the set piece for the first goal, but 2 really, really cheap goals conceded from set pieces again. And we, like I say, gives us a task that, I mean, I think if we'd have had players, if we'd have had the bulk of our players performing 8 or 9 out of 10s today rather than 6s, I think we could have actually won that game. Never mind lost it by 2 goals, and I think that's the frustrating thing for me, because Liverpool, listen, I know it's not going for as well for Liverpool as it has done in recent seasons, but they're still a very good football team. But I don't think they had to be brilliant today to beat us, and that was the frustrating thing.
Yeah, on another day we do win that game, and we kind of not blow them away, because it's not necessarily true. But if we're slightly better, they are there for the taking. What did you make of McGinn? Very quick. I know we said we didn't want to try and drag this episode out too long, so I don't want to go kind of player by player. We did a social post just before Christmas of a photo of him from one of the friendly games, and he's got his kind of new skinhead haircut. And he kind of said something like, "I'm going back to the nickname Meatball with my big head," or whatever. And people were replying to that tweet saying like, "Oh, I don't care what his haircut is. I want to see him play better. I want to see him do this. I want to see him do that." First of all, he looked trimmer. I thought he lost a bit of weight as well, which is always useful. But I thought he was much improved today as well. And again, maybe I'm giving too much praise to somebody who doesn't necessarily deserve it, because he's not played this 10 out of 10 game. But I thought out of all the midfielders, he was probably the strongest.
I thought he was decent.
Role to Kamara, to be fair. But yeah, better than Louise anyway.
I thought he was decent. I thought he was, I thought probably my pick of the players were Kamara and Mings potentially. Although Villa did seem to get done kind of over the top a few times, but I thought Kamara was the pick of the midfielders. I thought McGinn, if Kamara was a 7, McGinn was a 6.5. So I thought he was decent. I thought he was decent. I don't think he was. I think there's a long way before we can say he's getting back to his best. But I think there's encouraging signs.
I thought Mings was a little bit shaky today. I thought. Yeah. Didn't think he was.
The knock that he got early on affected him. I just thought he was. I thought he was just. I thought he was alive. I mean, he was obviously alive, but I thought he was alive to danger a lot more than I thought he was. I thought he was sharper than Konsa, to be honest.
There's I think it might be the third goal where it just kind of, he doesn't clear it from the ball in, and it just hits him on the thigh, and he doesn't kind of get enough on it to just kind of bounces off. And I thought it was a couple of moments where I just thought, it doesn't look quite at it for me.
It's all about
But
opinions.
there's a comment here saying, I agree. Come on, Mings are our two best players by a country mile. So what do I know? Let's talk about Olsen and Emi Martinez then. So I suppose that's a wider conversation, more so away from this game a little bit. Talk about Olsen first of all. Let's kind of get the elephant out of the room. What you thought of his performance, because now that's 2 or 3 games he's played for us in the league and conceded a handful of goals and not been particularly, filling anyone with confidence, including the team. I thought on a few occasions getting a couple of looks off players, and you can tell they haven't got that kind of connection they will, because he's not the number one. And I think that's understandable, and that kind of sets the tone of, if you haven't got faith in your goalkeeper behind you, you're a little bit ratty and a little bit shaky. Just don't rate Olsen at all. Like I said, this is a wider conversation about kind of recruitment here in a sec, but just talk to me about his performance first of all.
How many times he played now? Because the 3 games that I can remember, he's
conceded
3 goals in each. And he played at Man City, didn't he, last season? Sorry, that's a quiz question for anybody who hasn't caught up with that Christmas quiz yet. Conceded 3 there, conceded 3. Was it 3? How many did we lose to in the cup in the end? Was that 3 or 4?
I'm going to have to check.
Man United.
Such a long time
anyway, basically, the point I'm going to make is
4.
I felt he was nervous from the very first kick of the game today. And you could almost see the inner turmoil in his head. He kicked the ball. He got Ming standing one side and Konsa standing the other side. And he didn't want to play the simple goal kick pass to them, because he knew that would involve him getting the ball back. And he just wanted it away from him with the first pass, because he tried to pick out the ball to Luca Dean, didn't he, a couple of times, and sailed over his head. And I feel it's a really, really awkward situation for him now, because as a reserve team goalkeeper, the only time you're not going to get many chances, are you? You're not going to get many opportunities to play. So he must be getting himself so worked up each time he plays that kind of panic sets in. And
it is a weird scenario, though, isn't it? Because he knows that unless he plays an absolute blinder, there's absolutely no way he plays the next game when Martinez is back. So that must be quite a strange situation to be in, knowing that however you play, you're not going to be the goalkeeper to play the next game. So I wonder whether that kind of affects you from a mentality point of view, to think, well, if I concede a couple of goals here, Martinez will play the next game. That'll be me probably not playing again till the end of the season. I'll appear in a couple of friendlies or maybe a cup game, and that's it. And that probably is quite a strange situation to go through mentally, but putting all that to one side, he's not a very good goalkeeper, and that's the main issue.
I think I'm just looking here, so I forgot the Newcastle game. So he played 4 games and conceded 14 goals. Is that right? And
a few in the comments who said that as you were working it out just before, 14 and 4.
And I just think, this is not a Villa defence that leaks that many goals that often. And you can't put I don't know if you can put any of the goals down to him today, can you? Particularly, I don't know. But he doesn't inspire confidence. He kind of unnerves those around him. And the bizarre thing is, he's not a kid. He's not a rookie. I know goalkeepers play later into their 30s than outfield players tend to do. But I think he's the early 30s.
Something like that. He's been around. And he's Sweden's number 1, isn't he? So he's not this non-league goalkeeper that isn't capable of playing, but he's been in Premier League number 2. He had a spell at Sheffield United. He was at Everton sitting on the bench. He's obviously been with us on the bench for a year or 2 or whatever it is. Yeah, he's 32. So like I say, he's Sweden's number 1 still in all that time. So it's not like he's this nobody, but every time he's played for Villa, and that's the only thing I really care about, it's not filled me with confidence at any point, really, which is, like I said, it's more an issue about Villa's recruitment more so than let's all bash Robin Olsen, because it's not really his fault. I
feel sorry for him, because I think he's become a bit of a mental block for him now. And you could almost see him every time he kicked the ball. You could almost see him apologising. Basically, he clearly wants to. He clearly wants to be this kind of figure of calm and composure. But when will he play again? Imagine Martinez will be back for the Spurs game next week. So you know, he might play in the cup game potentially against Stevenage, and then he might not play again for another 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And I just think that kind of level of inactivity is not really conducive to you getting your confidence back, really. So I don't know whether we send him out on loan, but
then bring him back every time we need it.
Good feel for him, because you could just feel, like I say, you could feel the tension around him. You could feel the tension in the crowd. And, you know, the fella just wants to do his best for Villa, but there's fine margins in games. And, you know, we can't afford to have somebody as our last line of defence who doesn't inspire confidence.
Talk about Emi Martinez, and just a little bit to kind of start to round up this post-match show. It is Boxing Day, so thank you for joining us if you are still here. What do you think, first of all, because the kind of wider national media conversation, there's a lot of stuff about Emi Martinez's celebration antics, let's say, with his, I think he was throwing a baby doll with Kylian Mbappe's face on in Argentina and dancing in the dressing room, and obviously the antics of the penalty shootout and time wasting and all those kind of things that, let's face it, we love Emi Martinez for, so I don't really care about all that. I like that. I think that's good. I rate it. I like that he's associated with us. I like that that's our goalkeeper now. That kind of everyone's got a hatred for Emi Martinez. He plays for us. Yeah, cool. Happy with that. Don't mind it at all. But the wider conversation from the kind of national media is about why is he having a week to celebrate? He's got a Premier League fixture. He's contracted to Aston Villa. He should be back for Boxing Day. The World Cup final was 7 or 8 days ago. He's had time to get back and all this kind of thing. I don't care about any of that. I don't know whether you're different to me, whether Villa fans feel different, that Martinez should have been there. He is our player. He's contract to us. We pay his wage. He should have been there. He's just won the World Cup in Argentina.
Yeah, I mean,
let him celebrate. It's been Christmas. He's travelling a lot. If he was playing today, he'd probably be still hungover anyway, which probably would have been better than Robin Olsen, to be honest, at times. But let the guy celebrate. It's one game. It doesn't matter, does it?
I think it's quite British, his behaviour, isn't it? In a way, it reminds me of I can't remember what he was celebrating at the time, but when Paul Gascoigne kind of was on some open top buzz with a fake pair of breasts or something, just kind of just enjoying the moment. And you know, these people are human, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? He's won. What is he going to win? Certainly, if he stays at Aston Villa, what is he going to win that's ever going to come anywhere near that again? And he's not just won it. He's not won it as a bit part player.
As the substitute keeper.
He's been a pivotal part of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Let's face it, by the way, we could have still lost today with Emi Martinez playing. So from a Villa perspective, it doesn't. I've seen people moaning about it, saying he should be back. It's been 7 or 8 days, but I'm of the mindset that let the guy celebrate. He's had Christmas in Argentina. Go for it. Enjoy it. As long as you're back for the first, that's fine.
Yeah, you know, if he misses the next 3 or 4 weeks, Robin Olsen's still averaging 3.5 goals conceded a game, then Emi needs his wrist slapped and he needs to get back. But I just think, you know, I don't think we can question his professionalism. You know what I mean? For Aston Villa, I think, you know, when he comes back, he'll work hard, he'll train hard, and he'll make sure that he's the best version of himself that he can possibly be. You know, let him go and enjoy this, because, you know, I know he's still a relatively young man for a goalkeeper, but it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for him. Yeah. So
he might never win the World Cup again.
Well, no. So I think the wider narrative, if he was playing for somebody else, we'd probably like sneer at him and we'd probably say, you know, what's this knobhead doing? But he's ours, and we you know, I'm just proud that we've got a current World Cup winner in our ranks. It's never happened before. I mean, who did we say? Robert Pires was the previous World Cup winner to represent us. You know what I mean?
Really count, does it?
Well, that's exactly it. We've got somebody who is a World Cup winner in our midst. If that means that we have to be without him for a game while he celebrates, gets himself right, and gets back over here and gets his game head back on for hopefully for Tottenham away on New Year's Day, so be it. Like you said, we could have lost that game with him in our goal. I just think I don't know. I think Argentina's general, what can you say, streetwise, bleep housery and that kind of thing, I think has riled people up a little bit, and because he's the kind of the master of it, people have seen it as a as an excuse to have a pop at him. I don't mind. I'm not bothered about it. He's won the World Cup. He's never let Aston Villa down while he's been with us, and I hope we keep him for a lot longer. And I hope he's actually dangling the FA Cup in front of his middle bits at the end of May.
That was good, wasn't it?
You cut that bit if you want for a clip.
Okay, I would. Just a couple of comments on Martinez before we move on. Nothing wrong with Martinez celebrating, but he should be back at Villa Park by now. Joshua says I would have preferred him back simply because Olsen is useless. Stupid time to have a World Cup final. It's not Emmy's fault. Yeah, that is also true. It's just before Christmas. They would have had a bit of time off Christmas anyway. Let him be. He won for Argentina. I don't care about Argentina. He should have been back for the club that pays his wages. That's my take. Yeah, I mean, again, kind of fair. That is true and correct. But personally, and that's only my opinion and your opinion, and there's plenty of others out there. Doesn't bother me. He'll be back for Spurs, and he'll help us try and win that game in the best way he can. And we move forward from there. Just quickly on the kind of roundup of the game. What do you think you've seen today? Emery will have seen after a 5-6 week break. Just very quick, actually. I saw this point on Twitter or something. I've nicked it from elsewhere, but the difference between Villa's kind of preparation for today and Liverpool's, that we've only played 4 or 5 friendlies and not great results in those either. And Liverpool played Man City the other day in the Cup, a competitive game, a feisty game, a game of more importance than a friendly in Abu Dhabi for us. That they seem more kind of back into their rhythm than Villa would have. What will Emery have seen in that 5 week break and learned going into January now? And what have you seen that you think, okay, maybe we need this position sorted or that position sorted?
Oh, blimey. I thought you were going to have a bit of an end of podcast chat.
Yeah, we'll do that in a minute.
I mean, listen, the preparations were different, but we lost to Manchester United in the Cup, so we weren't going to be playing a competitive game. You can only put whatever friendlies on you can, can't you? You've got to find somebody who's willing to play you, and it is always going to have the element of the feel of a practice match. In terms of what Emery's learned, it's an interesting one. Probably does need a striker who's more ruthless. Will that come in January? I'm not convinced it will. It might have to wait till the summer for that to happen. I think the thing that will have disappointed him today is that they did start so slowly and that they didn't burst out the blocks. And that, yes, we know that they were rusty, but you're back in the Premier League stage, and they can be rusty, but they can also be rested as well. Most of them. Because we didn't have too many people at the World Cup in the end. So I don't know. We've only got a very small sample of games that he's been in charge of. But the performance we produced against Manchester United at Villa Park in his first game, when he'd had a handful of days to work with the team, would have beaten Liverpool today. So the thing that I think will have frustrated him was how he could get that message across so early on, but how standards could slip so quickly.
I think it is just a case of momentum and confidence and travel and it being the Christmas break and it being a strange time. I think if we'd have played Brighton last week and beat them, we probably would have got at least a point today, I think, based off of just the carrying that momentum forward. It's just a strange time, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've never known a kind of mid-season break like it. So this is going to be the test for everybody, basically. But I don't know. I just thought I thought we'd have returned with a little bit more of a snap, I suppose. And I thought we were a little bit pedestrian, by which time it was too late. And that's the really, really frustrating thing, because I thought, I think most of it came down our left flank, didn't it? In terms of the second half, I think Dean got into a few decent crossing positions. And I think that Liverpool could have been got at down that flank more. So I don't. I want to go and have my tea, so I don't want to get too deep into it anyway. But it's the first game back, and it's the first real kind of, I don't know, bump in the road. And I said when Emery was appointed that we're going to have to try and rise above these a little bit and just say, okay, let's not get too disappointed. Let's not get too frustrated. Yeah, there was still enough good things in defeat for us to not start kind of moaning too much about it. I did get frustrated at the end though when the Liverpool fans started singing pro Steven Gerrard songs. I can imagine him there, sitting there watching the game in his Liverpool pajamas, jumping up and down, getting all excited.
Not now.
Yeah,
not now.
we move on.
Yeah, we move on. Do we want to end with a little bit of rubbish nonsense? We say we try and keep this about half an hour, and the end of the football chat is bang on half an hour. So I feel like we owe it to people to do a few shout outs or tell me what you had for your Christmas dinner or whatever. Have you had a nice time, Matt? Have you had a nice Christmas season?
It was myself, my wife, and our 2 kids yesterday with an elderly friend of the family who my in-laws normally host on Christmas Day, but they've swanned off to New Zealand.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying, yeah.
We had Ida round. We had a very nice time. Then I went on the evening to my sister's for some reason, and I haven't bought these as a prop though. It just happened to be on the table where I'm sitting. My dad thought it would be a good idea to get me this. So
you wrote that probably.
I'll just take one at random.
Well, funny enough, my dad had a dad joke book as well, and I almost bought him one because I saw one in the shop, and I said if I open this and the first one I open makes me laugh, I'll buy it. But I didn't in the end, but somebody else got him one. To be fair, there is some good ones in there.
There's some terrible ones there. What kind of birds are always sticking to each other?
I don't know. What kind of birds always stick to each other?
Velcros.
Oh.
You know, that's one of the better ones.
Is it? I could do my dad quickly texting me a good one out of his because there were some good ones when I was flicking through them yesterday. But
I'll give you one more when I'm going to go. What?
The fact that you've sighed reading that doesn't bode well, does it?
Yeah, I'm just jealous. I never came up with it. What kind of hair do oceans have?
What kind of hair do oceans have? I don't know.
Wavy.
Oh, that's bad.
You know what I mean? I wonder if I'm going to see if my dad's get the receipt, to be honest. But yeah, on that note, have you had a nice Christmas?
Yeah, it was good. I spent the Christmas at my side of the family this year instead of my partner's side last year. So I was back to my roots, back to my own household. My family came over from Spain. I've been told to give a shout out to the Valencia Massive. I don't know if that'll mean anything to anybody apart from those watching. So yeah, nice to spend Christmas as a bigger group instead of it just being like my mum, my dad, my sister, and me and our partners. It's kind of everyone together, getting the big table out and the emergency chairs and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, the big table. You're eating on a kind of wallpaper pasting table.
Plasterboard.
Yeah,
big 2 tables, big bit of plasterboard. So my dad gets out the shed or whatever, and everyone gathers down together and doing quizzes and party games and Jenga and stuff like that.
What's your Christmas Day dessert of choice?
I don't really like anything. I'd have a mince pie. That is what I had. A mince pie and a bit of cream. I don't like Christmas pudding.
Cold mince pie or hot mince pie?
Hot.
Hot mince pie with a bit of cream.
Yeah, like a brandy butter cream is what I prefer. We didn't have that this year.
Yeah, I had two cold mince pies, but with hot custard. But my normal choice is trifle. But my mother-in-law normally makes that, so she's had to text my wife the recipe frantically. So that's tomorrow's treat, hopefully. But
my sister just texted me and said that we did have brandy butter, but no one opened it. So that's outrageous. And the fact that they're still watching this 33 minutes in is
so we lose.
Get a life, you lot at home. Get a life.
So we lose on Boxing Day, a game that we probably could take more of, and you neglected to open the brandy butter. Can it get any worse?
I know, yeah. I've also been texted a joke. Shall I read out my joke and then we'll go?
Go on then, yeah, that can be the final thing.
Okay. Did you hear about the local auctioneer who died recently?
No, go on.
He was about 30, 35, 35, 40, 45, 45, 50. Oh, God, it's bad, isn't it? That did make me laugh when I was told that one yesterday. That's it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll just get a live to everyone who's watching out, but I obviously don't mean that. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on Boxing Day evening, or if you've been watching this after the fact. Matt, thank you for joining me. I've been off for the last week, which has been my kind of biggest takeaway from Christmas, having some time off work at last. But I said I'd jump back on and do the podcast and a bit of work as well. So you'll next see us, you and me specifically, unless you're about to bail on me for the Spurs game. I don't know when we'll be doing that. It's sometime on the evening. Day? Yeah, it's the Sunday, I think. Yeah. So I don't know if you're even free, but we'll work something out. We've got a week, haven't we?
Yeah,
just under a week.
Is it on the telly?
I don't think so. I think it's 2:00, but I don't think it's on telly. I'm not sure though. We'll find a way to watch it, won't we? If it's not on telly, I'm sure somehow there'll be ways that we'll find our way to watch that we can't officially talk about.
I'll listen to it on the radio, mate. I'm not breaking any rules.
Okay, cool. Of course you are. So we'll be back for that. We might do a preview or something in the week as well. Get John and Pat to do another one of those if we have time. Obviously, there's a lot of people taking time off for Christmas as well. So thanks everyone for joining us. Matt, thank you for your time as always, and have a happy New Year. But I will speak to you on New Year's Day anyway. Thanks everyone for watching along at home. And we'll see you again in a few days. Bye everyone.
Villa.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue and Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your thoughts and comments. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.